Hi guys, welcome back to Brian and Tia. Today we have two special guests. We have Hot Sauce with us today, and we have Shonda. So we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about co-parenting, baby mama, baby father. Is there a difference in the stigmas around the baby mama, baby father topic? So we'll start with Shonda. What do you think are the negative stigmas around baby mama, baby father?
Well, personally, I do not like the name baby mama. I don't want to be called nobody's baby mama because I am the mother of your kids, and I think that a baby mama acts differently than it's associated with drama, oh, you my baby daddy. Like you just associate the name with drama, and so I think, yeah.
Have you ever been introduced like, this is my baby mama?
I have not, thankfully.
What would happen if you did?
I mean, I probably would correct them.
I don't think that they will ever do that.
I don't know, but I would definitely correct and say,
But that makes me think. So then, where does that stigma, that idea of baby mama come from? Like, is it something that is for a certain type of woman that looks a certain, like, what is a baby mama versus the mother of your child?
I mean, I guess technically, technically everyone's a baby mama, baby daddy, but I don't like the term.
It's the term.
I remember when me and Brian first had Brian, and I had went to one of his company meetings. We weren't married at the time, but I think it was maybe your boss or manager, oh, you his baby mama, and I felt really offended. I was like, I'm his mother of his child. He's like, baby mama, and I'm like, I was really I didn't like that. So I could see how you could feel like
so
that.
So from a male perspective, Hot Sauce, do you feel that same way when it comes to the term baby daddy?
I mean, I didn't feel like that at first, but now that we're talking about it, now that I think about it, it is negative. It is negative because the terms are from a ghetto, I would say, point of view,
Yeah.
The whole baby mama thing, that's that rowdy, loud mouth, feeling like you owe me something because I had this baby by you person.
Yeah.
Versus the mother of my child.
Where do y'all think them associations come from? Is it just cultural? Is it just what we've
Entertainment,
been around?
TV, the music.
Yeah.
You gotta blame the music. Our culture. It comes from our culture as black people.
Yeah.
We created this lingo.
It's for sure.
It's true. And even now, I think I just recently, on one of my posts, I'm like, happy birthday to my baby daddy. I think I just said that, but I thought it was cute at the time. But I could see how people that made it.
I'm just laughing because look, it's just funny though when we want to control the term, we want to though.
Yeah, exactly.
She thought it was cute when she wanted to, but when my coworker said I ain't his baby mama,
that's how it be. That's how it be.
Yeah, that's true. We do want to control the term because I might say, oh, that's my baby daddy, but I don't really like that term.
It was a popular song. I don't know if I remember the popular song. I think it was by Trick Daddy. Who that girl? That is my baby daddy.
Right.
Who that girl? My baby
I was singing
daddy.
that shit
It's
strong too. Y'all know
as a
that.
culture. As a culture, we created that.
Yeah,
I wasn't even baby mamas yet,
sick.
or had baby daddies.
we was
So
baby mamas to be.
So now we established that it's cultural. Are any of the stigmas valid though?
Yes.
So there is a certain type of behavior that comes along with the idea of a baby mama.
Yes.
You kind of mentioned it, she feel like she owe you something. So what's the typical baby daddy?
The typical baby daddy is that dude that feel like she's not allowed to move on. You break up with this girl, you had a baby by her, and now you feel like you control every person she deals with moving forward, even though you're still living your life, doing what you want to do. Hold on, who over there with my kids? They over my kids, but that she has to move on. So I don't know.
It's crazy you mentioned that. That's a very honest point of view, but I think a lot of the times, and that kind of goes back to some of the episodes we talked in the past about not being able to be expressive. Because typically, if you like that, you probably still want her.
I wouldn't say that because I don't want none of my baby mamas. Who the fuck over there with my son? I wouldn't say that though because I hate when people say that. I hate when I hear that from my baby mamas. Oh, you must still want. No, I don't want you. But in the beginning, it was like we had this big tit for tat thing. So it's like, okay, where's my son at? Who was he around? But I wouldn't say that all the time. In some cases, it's not necessarily want, but it is that control factor that you're always mine. Don't ever forget that. I can always come over there whenever I want. Whenever relationships are not going good in your life, I'm that dick you can always call on.
Oh,
That's the baby daddy.
That's the toxic part. Of baby daddy.
That's the future part. That's the future.
You feel me?
But do you think that do you know of, or do you think that sometimes when the man is no longer with the woman, he will kind of like no longer like want to really take on responsibility of the children at times?
I'm pretty sure in many cases, yes, that is a fact. Yes, I've heard of that. I've seen people. I got friends who do shit like that. You know, I don't believe in that. You have a kid with somebody, you forever obligated to take care of that kid. But you know, there are cases where men are so controlling, they feel like if I don't have control, well, I don't want nothing to do with nothing coming from you, including the kid.
Big facts. Shonda, do you find yourself being conscious of not falling into the stigma of baby mama?
No, I think it's also more so in the person. You know, I think, like you said, like he said, like baby mamas or baby daddies, they feel like, oh, I can control that person because I have a kid with that person. Like, I think I had a kid with this person, it didn't work out, so now I know I just have to move accordingly. I think the stigma attached to baby mama is like, I'm trying to control everything you do or what you got going on with the kids or when you can see them and when you can't see them.
Right.
I think that's like, because usually they, you know, most times they kind of live with the mom or whatever, and I think it's like controlling, like, oh, well, if you dating somebody else and you can't see my kids, like, you know, I would never want to do, you know, like, I think it's that stigma attached. So yeah, I think it's character. I think like if I'm not acting in that way of a baby mama, because like a baby mama can be like, oh, well, no, you was with that girl last night, so no, you can't see, you know, like,
right.
And you can't see your kids today or something like that.
Right.
Like, you know, like using the kids as a pawn.
Yeah, that's not
you know, and I think a lot of times, like in those that the cultural baby mama, baby daddy, the kids are used as pawns. You know?
Big facts.
Whether it's on the mom side or the dad side. So yeah, I think just kind of like acting in my own self, like, you know, not letting something that I can't control me. You know,
right. And have you acting out of character.
Exactly.
Big facts. Because that's typically is what happens. People start acting out of character when they can't get their way or something happens that, you know, is out of their control.
Right,
you know what
definitely.
I mean?
One of the greatest quotes I heard from someone who was parenting was, they said the reason why they have a successful co-parenting because they don't see each other as exes. They see each other as parents of this child, you know, of these children.
Exactly.
Therefore, their first mind is not what you're doing. Its first mind is, okay, what are we going to do together to make sure this child has the best experience in this life?
Fact.
And I think that's something to keep in.
I think that's very important. Yeah. I think that to have a successful co-parent, because it's not easy. You guys are gonna both have different views, you know, like, and want to operate differently. But like, when we come together and say, okay, what's best for the kid? You know,
what's best for the kid?
Yeah.
That's a good segue because, you know, although we've been talking about culturally what is called baby mama, baby daddy, at the end of the day, it's co-parenting.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it is. And so, what have you guys' co-parenting experiences been like? She started. You want to start this one?
Yeah, mine's been Magic Mountain. What's the scariest
Is that
ride?
a roller coaster?
What's the scariest ride? Goliath. Tick, 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 tick. I can tell you it all. You know, my co-parenting experiences has been, man, a rocky road. You know, having my first child and then leaving that lady, getting with another person who the previous mother might not approve of the next person. And, you know, and me wanting to move on in my life, I want to prove that this next person I'm dealing with is good enough. And she feels like it's not. I've had experiences like my daughter had a birthday one year, and I wanted my son to come. And so we're going to like a theme park, Adventure City or something like that. Now we're going to a theme park. It's my daughter's birthday. I want my son to come. You know, I want them to enjoy each birthday with each other. He can come, but when she found out that my daughter's mom was going to be there, oh no, he can't come. What's best for the child now at this point?
Right.
Now I understand if I'm saying, oh, I'm going home and we spend the night, but no, I'm going to the theme park.
Right.
For my daughter's birthday.
Right.
He can't come because she's going to be there.
Right. Like she gonna be interacting with him anyway.
But that's his mom, right? Like
that's his mom, and she feels like she has a valid point that no, he can't come if she's.
Well, I mean, no, your daughter's mom was coming. That's her mom.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's just like it'd be. things like that where it's like, okay, that's controlling. That's kind of like something more so that's outside of what's best for the kid.
Right.
Because the kids want to be around each other for their birthdays.
Did you guys ever discuss what her motivation behind that was?
I mean, I know what it was. She didn't approve of the female. She didn't like her. She didn't like nothing about her, you know. She felt like she stepped on her toes, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lifestyles maybe the female was living, or, you know, her background. But all of that don't matter, you know. I feel like at that point, it's my daughter's birthday. Say, for instance, we're going to Magic Mountain or we're going to Disneyland. Why can't my son come to Disneyland without no strings attached?
Right.
What's going to happen on the teacup ride?
Right. Big fact.
With situations like that, do your children ask, like, Dad, I want my, because you have girl and boy, or
Yep,
two
girl
girls?
and boy.
Do they ask, like, I want my sister, or do you feel kind of stuck in the middle sometimes of your kids if one mother is not wanting to allow the other child to come and be a part of the festivities? Does your children ever get affected by that?
Well, thank God, no. I wouldn't say it affect them. They're older now, but even as they were younger, they never was like, oh, I miss because they always was around each other, so
Yeah.
whenever they can
Do
be.
a good job of that.
You know,
Yeah.
it was never that. I never heard my daughter or my son say, oh, unless they just calling, but no, I wouldn't say that. You know, I kind of put my foot down and argued and fought.
Yeah, that's good.
And did what the fuck I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
But
we
that's
gonna
good.
argue.
Because,
You know?
as siblings, I think sometimes it even goes back to the whole, like, McDonald's thing. I hate to bring up stuff like that on here, but, you know, just you,
Yeah.
you know, just making sure. A lot of times I think parents forget that you got to think about what's best for the kids, but siblings, sometimes it's all you have,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and that's like a connection you can't buy, you know, or get somewhere else. So I think that's a really good thing that you know, advocate for them to be able to be together
For sure.
and build that bond.
What about your experience as co-parenting?
You know, I think there were hurdles that we had to like get past. Obviously, once you parent in the household together, and then you break up, and then you start to call, you know, like you do things differently. So what we did in the household, you may not do in your household. So like I think like having those hurdles of like just trying to let go of something I can't control mostly, because it's like, okay, I might want the kids to be on a schedule, in bed by 8, no soda, no whatever, but
Right.
in your house, they can eat whatever, they can stay up till whenever,
till-
and I'm like, then they come home and they like, well, I stay up until this time, and I'm like, well, this is my program here, I don't care what's going on over there, but this is what we doing at home. So I think like, and that could be stressful. I had to let that go because it was like doing more harm to me, and like then I would bicker maybe to him, like, why are you doing this? You know, so it's like
And cause more
strife, friction, and I'm just like,
friction, yeah.
I said I had to let that go. Like that's out of my control. Like, you know, what goes on in your household, that's what goes on. What goes on in mine, you know, that, you know, like we both were running our own programs at this point. So I
Gotcha.
think like letting each of us parent the way we choose to parent. As long as a child is not.
They safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you found that to be more helpful for you? Because I know sometimes, you know, some parents might feel like, well, you know, when they come home, they're, you know, more cranky, or they don't want to do their work. But do you feel like releasing it kind of allowed the kids to kind of fall in line? Like, okay, we do this at the house, but I know when I get to mom's house, this is what I have to do. Do you think it's been a little bit more released, or do you still feel like it's still that tug of war a little bit?
It's a little tug of war because they're kids. They they want to like get away with as much as
Right.
they can get away
Free.
with if they can. Like
Right.
they want the fun life, you know.
Right.
Like, and they come home and they're like, oh, I'm the fun police. Like, you know, I'm like, they like bedtime. What do you mean bedtime? It's a week. I'm like, well, maybe a little hour. You can say it later, but I just feel like they're kids, you know, so they should have some structure. They should like, but I do think that. I just had to just let it go. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Because it
I
was
had to
driving
let
you
it
crazy,
go.
huh?
It would drive me crazy.
You sound like me, Shonda.
It would drive me crazy, and I'd be like calling like, what? They'd be telling me stuff, what? You know, and I'm like, oh, why am I gonna keep doing this? It's not getting me nowhere, you know?
I mean, and at the end of the day, they're both they have two parents who are two different people. They're going to live two different experiences at the end of the day. I know, like you mentioned, when they're in the same household, it's a little easier to control what they see or don't see.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're going to experience that because, you know, the two people having the two different backgrounds, they have two different families, extension of families.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And where they come from and how they do stuff is different, and so it's inevitable. But at the end of the day, I think it'll all be a part of who they are as a person.
Yes, people. Yeah.
Just like us. Like,
definitely.
I grew up in the hood, you know what I mean? But that didn't become my entire life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I
you
think
know when to turn it on, when to turn it off.
Big facts. Big facts. So you kind of jumped right into the next question about the challenges of co-parenting. Shonda mentioned hers. What's been some of yours?
My main challenge, I guess, would be just like, man, I don't know. I would have to sit and think because, you know, the main challenge, I guess, would be just having them together where I want them to be at when they're with me. That's just my main challenge.
Gotcha.
I didn't face a lot of challenges. It was just like when they come with me or when it's my time, I don't want to be dictated or told what to do, you know. Because when my kids are with you guys, I don't care. Not like that, but I'm just saying I don't.
You trust her.
I trust you,
right?
You know. So when my daughter's here, you doing what you're doing. I hear all type of stories, but I'm not holding it against you. My son's here, you doing what you're doing. But why when they're with me, it's like, oh, where you at? What's going on? Let me speak to him. You know, all of a sudden now you're blowing up his phone, you're blowing up my phone when it's my turn to have the kid. That's the main thing I used to hate.
Yeah.
How come when my son come over, you're calling it so much?
Yeah.
You know he's over here for the weekend, and all of a sudden, and I understand that's your baby.
Yeah.
But it's like, bruh, come on, this is
yours
my
too.
time.
Facts.
This is my time now.
Yeah.
And it's like making me feel like I'm not fit for the job.
So speaking of time, do you guys think that when it comes to co-parenting, it should be equal 50-50 split as far as time?
Yes, I don't want person job. And like, you know, culturally, it's the moms tend to take on the majority of the role. But I think like, no, we need to hold fathers accountable because they are 50% of the reason these children are here.
Big facts, Shonda.
And
say
so, that time should be split evenly because at the end of the day, when you're operating in two separate homes, it's it's stressful. We're still both living our lives. We're still both making a living for ourselves. We're still both doing what we need to do to provide for our children. So like the stress comes in when like, okay, well, or you just might want to have a social life, or like like, well, I got the kids every weekend, or why, you kind of like, it has to be balanced, for the sanity of both sides, of both parents,
Facts.
Yeah.
How do you think we hold men more accountable for that? Because that's honestly, bro, one of the reasons why we did this episode was because that's been bothering me a lot lately, bro. Like I have friends and homegirls who've been expressing their frustrations with the father of their children. Like, bro, they not doing what they supposed to be doing.
I don't know how to hold them accountable because it's like, what can you do? I wasn't perfect. I'll say that to the camera, like having my son, because I know his mom's going to see this. I messed up a lot in the beginning of his life. I dropped the ball a lot. We had my son, and when it didn't work out, I wanted to go be the 19, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid again. And she had to be a mother. So, I dropped the ball a lot, and so I don't know. Nowadays all we have is social media. Do you blast them on social media all day? That's not the right thing to do. Right. But how do you hold a father that's not doing his job accountable if he's not willing to step up? Which I wasn't stepping up in the beginning. I wasn't, especially when she wanted to be controlling. I was like, okay, well, in that case, I'm going off with a new girlfriend and hit me when you're ready.
What changed your mindset?
Seeing what she pointed out about the new girlfriend. Like, damn, shit.
You was right.
Let's talk about this. So he can't be here because of this reason. So I had to bump my head, a hard head, make a soft ass. But who wants to hear that from an ex? You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And I don't want to bash my daughter's mom. Because both my baby mothers, they're the women, they're the mothers of my children. But I will say that some of the things I had to see for myself. And I definitely seen them for myself,
Yeah.
And that's what changed my mind. Like, I need to step up.
So from your guys' point of view, Tia, what do you think men can do to hold each other more accountable for that?
I think call each other out. You know what I mean? I think sometimes, men get on social media and take pictures with their kids and all that
shaking
kind
her
of
head.
stuff. That looks good, but I think if you have a friend, and I think it goes back to the reason why we started Let's Talk, right? Because sometimes we aren't always we don't know all the time. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's never a bashing of. I always have a soft spot in my heart for, you know, black men, because I think a lot of black men weren't shown what to do.
Fact.
You know what I mean? It's like they out here trying to figure shit out. And I think that the men who kind of catch on, or like, you know, hot sauce.
Thank you.
You know, he you know, he had to figure it out, but he figured it out and decided, like, you know what, I need to grow up. I need to be a part of my children's lives. But I think in that moment, sometimes I think someone like Brian, hot sauce, you got your friends, if you're saying, hey, look, you know, I noticed that, you know, your baby mama kind of out there, you know, she by herself, and I know she kind of, every weekend you hanging out with me. Every, like, if you got a homeboy, every weekend he hanging out with you, he calling you on the phone, like, hey, what's up with a party? And you know he got kids, maybe tell him, hey, maybe not this weekend. How about you should go pick up your children? Or maybe I'll pick up my children too. Maybe we can all hang out as a family. Me and you, your kids, my kids. You know what I mean? And I think little things like that, like just noticing things. And I think sometimes men feel like, because it's like, I'm a man, I can't tell that man what to do. I hear that a lot. I ain't tell no grown man what to do. Sometimes it's like, it's not about telling him what to do. It's just about saying, hey, you know, how's it been? How's it been being a new dad?
Or you know what I mean? Leading by example.
Leading by example.
Big
You know what I mean? Like, I
facts.
noticed, like, how's it been? Like, getting with some of your friends. I know, you know, sometimes Brian will get with some of his homeboys who have sons too, you know what I mean? And like, they'll go to the gym together, or they'll hang out. And I'm sure those are places to where you can have those conversations versus just being like, you know, I'm just mind my business, you know? Because, I mean, women do it.
I would like to say something on that. Well, like, I had a situation like that, what you're saying, where leading by example. I was leading by example, and it rubbed off on a friend. And he hit me up like, man, let's take our sons out. Let's go somewhere. So we took our sons out to Santa Monica Pier. He had the little free wristbands. We rode rides all day. Afterwards, we went to Benihana, and we took a little picture of me, him, my son, and his son. Good day. His baby mama in my DM on Instagram. Take that picture down. He don't do nothing for my son, and I can't believe he posting this picture. Now, mind you, I've rubbed off on him, and he wanted to step up that day. The baby mama jumped in my DM, told me to take that picture off my page. He don't fuck with my son. Just because he spent one day, that ain't enough. What do you do when you have women that's acting like that?
Damn, that's a great question, son. Damn, I wasn't expecting that.
I know.
I thought that was going to end good.
I damn near had to block her. You gonna see this. That was foul as fuck how she came at me.
I think a lot of times we don't allow people clean slates.
True.
As people, like you know, cancel culture type of stuff that goes on. I think in general, it's like we don't allow people to grow, right? To change, to heal. And I think in that moment, it's very difficult. But I think in that moment, like sometimes it's kind of like that thing when you like, you know, people going to talk.
Black out the negativity.
Black negativity. Keep stepping up, young man. Like you know, she gonna keep. Because she's bitter. She's hurt.
She's hurt.
You know what I mean? It's hard. She's tired. You know what I'm saying? She's hitting to her every day, every night. But men have to realize. I know it's not the easiest, but we gotta stop. Men have to step up full circle.
Regardless.
And a lot of times men have to just say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For some women, because some women they'll run over you. But if if they don't see you taking control, whether you're in a relationship with that woman or whether you're not, because there's some shit. It's like, no, this is what we're doing. I'm coming. I understand you were upset about the post. I'm still coming to pick my son up again on Friday, and then I'm gonna pick him up again, and I'm picking him up again, and I'm gonna post another picture if I want to. At the end of the day, there's two parents.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, again, like somebody seen you the other day down and out, they're gonna think of you that way, but you gotta keep rising to where you want to be. You gotta leave out that shit. Gotta go because it's bad. Baby.
Spirit, though.
Yeah.
It can.
That broke my boy's spirit. I'm not gonna lie. That broke
can.
my boy's spirit. I felt bad for him because we had a good day that day.
Because he tried that day.
He tried that day. If he ain't tried no other day, from the top of the day, he like, let's go out, bro.
Yeah,
and we stayed out all day with them boys.
And then I think at the end of the day, he gotta understand that he doing it for his son and not for
her.
the mama.
Yeah.
That's another thing too.
No.
He doing it for her.
Yeah.
He doing it for her. You can't do it to make the baby mama happy you gotta just be really invested.
Can't do it for the gram either.
No.
Yeah.
Gotta
That's
keep
true.
it.
Why do you niggas? All my homies, why know you had a kid? Give your Father's Day, you pop up like that. Boy, bring that little boy over here.
I understand, boy, you can't do it for the gram either. Nah, they be doing it for the gram.
It's gonna grow up and they'll be like, I'm on all your posts, but I don't never see you.
Yeah, yo.
So
You know?
I want to know the answer to this one. Is it ever a good idea to stay for the kids, though?
No.
You didn't even think about it. Shonda at least gave it a second. She said, wait, hold on.
Trying to choke on her words.
You're like, no. You know what? I think that staying for the kids is not healthy. I think because ultimately you want to raise your kids in a loving household. You want to exemplify love. You want to exemplify my parents get along, they love each other.
Right.
And because I think it also just leads to like the generational curses and like, you know, the stigma attached to like blacks and black kids and like single parent, like, you know, like I think like when you go your separate ways, like it's better for the kids for them to see you guys both thriving and happy.
Definitely.
Than together and upset, you know, like because they're taking everything in. And so I think staying for the kids is not a good idea, but I think you should, for the sake of the kids, you should utilize all your resources in trying to make it work, because you have tried, you started a family with this person. So like you know, you want to kind of end that like broken home. You want, you know, essentially you don't want to continue that like, you know, pattern.
Right.
So I think you should exhaust your resources in trying to make things work where you can, like both parties included, you know.
Yeah. You said no immediately.
Said no immediately. This the one part I'm gonna tell you what Bernie Mac said. Fuck them kids. And I don't mean it like that. God help me, Jesus, please. Y'all invited me to be here. I'm gonna be real. Fuck them kids. You at the end of the day, you still have to be healthy, mentally stable. You still have to be a strong person. You still have to be okay in this world. You still have to take care of yourself in order to be there in your kid's life.
Yeah.
So if you stay in this relationship that's abusive, that's not, I don't know, it's not
Adding to your life.
it's not adding, and it's only taking from you, and you're doing it for the kid, you're really taking from the kid.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna find out one day that Santa Claus ain't real. The whole time you thought Santa Claus was real, I don't even like your mama. And it's gonna break your little heart. So how about you find out when you two?
I would like your mama.
How about you find out when you two? It's gonna hurt you when you're 19. But that ain't like your mama in 94. I'm saying here for you. You know, it ain't hurt when your kids get older and they go about their life, and you just, your whole life just went.
Yeah.
Was crazy, bro. And I was gonna say, I've heard of people that stayed for the kids, but bro, I don't know if it was like an agreement or what, but they did their own separate things in the house.
In the house. It's not what Will Smith and Jada doing. All about submission them. I don't want to get slapped.
You know, like I grew up with a lot of people whose parents like stayed together, but then like as soon as they got out of school, then the parents
Exactly. That's when
you
it
hear
happened.
about it.
They got them off to high school. They graduated high school, and went off to college, and then they split, or they split while they were away in college or something. Like, you know, they just kind of like played the roles until. But like the kids see that.
I was about to say, did they share what that was like?
Yeah.
You know, I think it probably affects them. I think the parents think it's gonna affect them a little bit less because they're older and they understand. You know, but I think it probably affects them a little bit more, because you're like, I saw my parents like together my whole childhood, and all of a sudden they're
Why they're not together no more? Right? No, that's
it's like,
true.
What happened now? Like, because we left or we're not in the household, you know, they might take some type of blame, like, oh, we not there no more. Now we off to college, and now they. So
we mentioned, you know, if you don't stay for the kids, then if you got to break up, how do you make sure you do that responsibly?
Like I said, you have a conversation with the children. I know me and my son, mom, I want to say we talked to my son. She probably talked to him on his own time. I remember I had a conversation with him and let him know. And it hurt him the day when I was leaving, and he told me that he still remembers that day. That final day when I sat there at the back of her bumper of her car and got on one knee, like, it's going to be all right, bro. I ain't going nowhere. It's going to be 20 minutes up the road. You know, he still call me. He's going to still thug it out, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, talk to the kids. Let them know up front. Don't hide it from them.
Right. Right. What you think?
Yeah,
Charlie?
I definitely think it's important to communicate with the kids, because as much as we may think that like, oh, they're kids, you know, like some people were like, you know, they don't like, I think kids are full of emotion, and
That's for sure.
it's important to let them know, because in the most child-friendly way that you can, you know,
course.
like, you know, that it's not gonna be. I remember like my kids were like, they still ask to this day, like, oh, why, you know, like, when are you? And I'm like, and I just kind of divert it, and I'm like, you see daddy all the time, you know, or like, you know, just kind of like divert it as child friendly as I can, because I think they're kids, and I think that they always want the idea of a mom and a dad together, you know, like, so just kind of like, yeah, communicating, and like, and also showing that you can get along well with dad.
Right.
I think it's
I think
important
that's
to
super important.
mom and dad, and
Yeah,
to still
exactly.
have a good relationship, because they're watching everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
still, you know, they're watching how you communicate or how you interact when you guys are around each other. You know, getting together for holidays, birthdays, whatever it may be. They're watching. You know, so I think like being. I always say it's. I've always said it's more important. Sometimes a lot of relationships don't work because they don't know how to communicate really good.
Yes,
And
that's
I
the biggest
said,
thing.
when it comes to co-parenting, I think you have to communicate even more.
Even more.
And some people may not agree with that, but I think like to effectively co-parent, you gotta communicate. You know, because sometimes the kids may have this, or you know, like. You may have your own schedule going, and like, you know, it's important to communicate all ends, because like we all have a life of our own.
Exactly.
And yeah.
I agree, because at 34 years old, I still remember the day that my father left. You know, and I think what House Sauce was saying, no, he's what like trying to say, but when he's saying like sitting down with the kid, and what to piggyback off what Shonda said, like the communication, I think. You know, the day that my dad was no longer in my life, because my parents lived together for a little while, and I pretty much remember my dad being in the house with us for a little bit of time, but I also remember the exact day my dad left, like it was yesterday, and it was a very traumatic memory for me, and I think even going forward, it was never like a conversation my father or my dad had with me, my mom or my dad had with me, until I was an adult, and I began to inquire, and I remember like not being really healed from that until I was well into my 20s. You know, obviously I patched a relationship with my father, and we have a wonderful relationship now, but it was just so many questions I had of like why he wasn't there, and I went through withdrawals of being upset with him and being upset with my mom, and you know, and just being really confused well into my adulthood. You know what I mean? Until I really kind of became a parent myself and was able to see where it was missing. So I do agree, like when it comes to co-parenting, communicating, and also not talking bad about the other parent around your kid. Do not do it ever.
That is important.
Very important.
It
doesn't matter.
No matter how you feel.
They get on your goddamn nerves.
They get your last
nerve.
Don't ever do it. It's not a good idea. It scars the children. It leaves them asking a ton of questions and makes them feel.
It puts them in an awkward place of like feeling like not the need to choose, but like or like in a sense like is daddy being mean, you know, or like or you know whatever.
Why isn't daddy doing this, or is mom doing this? You know,
they start to take on your point of view. And
then it's confusing when they grow up and gain their own point of view, and it's like whoa, and then they start being tricked to and lied to their whole life.
Yeah.
I was about to say, T, I know you mentioned your parents not doing that, but that generation prior to us, communication, that probably was the last thing on their mind. Kids, you wasn't talking to kids.
Exactly.
No,
you wasn't telling them and explaining
like,
kid
business.
Sit down, shut up, be quiet.
I ain't with your mama. Don't worry about it.
I'm the adult.
And I don't hold it against. Well, you know, I've moved past that in my life, but I can clearly see like my parents. They were just a part of generations.
That's
they were just doing what they did the best they could do. They did what they knew to do. You know what I mean? And trauma is real. So, you know,
Definitely. Well, thank you, Hot Sauce and Shonda, you guys for being on the episode today. We appreciate you guys coming. And of course, sharing you guys' perspective, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. We appreciate that. And I'm really glad you guys came to just kind of like show a more successful, like, and thriving co-parent situation. Because I think a lot of times, you know, in our community, in our culture, you know, it's only one-sided. But there are people out here who communicate. There are fathers who want to be a part of their children's lives. There are mothers who don't want to bring drama into the situation. So I think even with those narratives going around, it's important to understand that's not the only point of view.
It's not the only point
It's
of
not
view.
the only point of view.
So from here going forward, we doing away with baby mama, baby father. That's out. That's done.
We're
We
co-parenting.
We parenting our kids together. That's what we're doing.
Yes, in a healthy way, in a thriving way.
Shonda don't like the term anyway.
Absolutely not. When Tia talked about that post of the McDonald's, I said, I'm glad I got one baby daddy.
Oh, the Happy Meal post?
Yeah, I had to. And he didn't bring mine. I'm like, I can't.
That's too much.
No.
That's too much. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So you want to tell them where to get the merch from?
Yes, so don't forget, as you guys are watching this, make sure for the next one you get our shot glasses, our wine glasses, tequila glasses, whatever you want to put in here, our coasters. We got gold for me, some gold, and we have black for black power.
So we will see you guys next week. Appreciate you guys for being here. Good night.
Good night.
Caro.